jibber jab, bamboozle, nuka noozle, bippity bop, she-gall. You jibber jab, bamboozle, nuka noozle, bippity bop, she-gall. I mean, you keep on talking, but you don't know where to turn it off.
Welcome to the weekend. I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute. You're watching Independent Thinking. Do you know that the mandate for renewable energy is going to go up? That means 30% of your electric bill is supposed to be made out of, well, feel-good energy. To talk to us about it, the two senators who fought over it, Kevin Lundberg, a Republican from
R-Berthoud up in Larimer County.
There's a place called R-Berthoud?
There's a place called R-Berthoud. And there's a place called Loveland and Estes Park and Wellington and all of those.
I've heard a couple of those, but I didn't know they were actually people up there.
Yeah, well, they really are.
Okay, well, I'm going to take your word for it. I don't believe it. And from right around here in Denver, Mike Johnston, thank you for joining us. Now, you took over for Peter Groff.
Yes, sir.
So you are an appointee.
I am an appointee. They call it a selection because there's a committee that selects you, so it's not just one person.
So in other words, if you screw up badly on the show, you'll never get elected ever.
Very possible.
Right. I got that. You going to run for election this fall?
Yes, sir, I am.
Yeah, sure. Got any campaign material?
I don't, but I could get you some if you're interested.
I can give you some of mine.
Yeah, I can imagine. No, you always ask me for contribution. Let's go back to the beginning of this, which was when Lola Spradley, former Speaker of the House, decided to put forward a ballot initiative. And it was to change, I believe it's statute, not amendment, was to change the statute and say that 10% of Colorado's electricity energy needs to come from renewable energy. Right. And that, I forget which year that was. I think it was 2004. 2004. The first thing that Governor Ritter did when he got into office was to take that 20% mandate, or 10%, and bump it up to 20%, which personally I think it's bordering really as far as you can go. And now this year, his legacy bill, he went down and testified, is to take it from 20 to 30%. And this bill, while we film, is not quite law, but I have no doubt by the time it airs, it will be law. Are we all in agreement?
I think we are.
Got the background pretty well?
Got it.
All right. Let's start off a little bit. Why did we need any of these mandates? Tell me what the goal was.
I think the goal is I think there are a couple of strong goals. One is to create an environmentally sustainable energy plan over the years. I think that we know that we have a significant amount of energy that comes from fossil fuels right now, but we also know that we're going to need to, both for economic development as well as for environmental sustainability, be able to have other replacement fuels that will continue to supplement those over the years. And so I think that's one need. I think the second is there's a very strong economic need. We know there's a burgeoning national and international market in the new energy sector, and we'd like to see Colorado be a leader in that sector as opposed to a follower. We don't want to lose to China and to other international countries the opportunity to lead in this
China really
market.
is known as the renewable energy capital.
No, but they are the manufacturing sector for solar and wind. So they are fighting for those manufacturing jobs.
Because the power costs are cheap enough there that they can actually build some things. But I'll mock you about that later.
That's okay.
But give me real short before we get into
Sure.
What's the problem with this? I mean, the propellers look pretty. The solar panels are always there when you drive by DIA, where you can look at them and it feels nice.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Why? What's the big deal?
It distorts the marketplace. If the free market can't sustain the development of these renewable energy systems, then in fact what we're doing is we're driving energy prices up for the consumers, and we're also creating a false sense of economic equilibrium for what industry or what types of power should be used in the future. You know, I'll give you a quick example. Back in 2004, actually, spring of 2004, when the initial initiative was being put forth, there was a presentation down at the Capitol where one of the big suppliers for wind energy was talking about what they were doing and what they were providing nationwide. And somebody in the back of the room said, don't you know there's a new system out there that's at that time he said it's a variable blade technology that makes things more efficient. And the guy who was doing the presenting, he said, but we're not going to use that because the federal government won't subsidize those systems. So instead, when the government steps in and mandates and subsidizes, you're not driven towards the best solutions, just those that are approved by the government.
Let's get some specifics down first. The law, as I understand it, says that I'm trying to simplify, 30% needs to be made through renewable sources. Now, the original law said renewable sources really comes down to propeller power, windmills that we like, the pinwheels, and solar power, those beautiful things we see on top of houses. But it didn't include some things that seem renewable to me, such as hydroelectric, that water power is not involved in this, or nuclear power, which seems to be pretty renewable as well. It lasts a long time and has no carbon footprint whatsoever. Am I right, number one, and why aren't those things considered renewable under the law that you passed?
You're partly right. Hydro is included. So hydro is one of the sources for renewable energy that's in this bill, and so that would be a component that would count into the 30%. There is a target towards smaller hydro projects, because those are the largest number of hydro projects by far that we have ready in the queue. So 70% of the projects ready to be built right now are projects under 10 megawatts, which is what the bill specifies. So there's a diversified attempt to bring on hydro, but hydro is absolutely part of that renewable component.
Was that part of the original back in 2004?
I don't know about 2004. Senator Lundberg might. I know that it's a part of what we passed this week.
I don't recall precisely on 2004, but I must tell you that for the current bill, House Bill 1001, actually only small hydro is allowed. Anything above 10 kilowatts, it's not just targeted. It doesn't count.
Right, let me put it into terms I understand.
Yeah.
So tiny dams with tiny generators are allowed, but a big dam with big water and a big generator is not allowed under this bill, right?
They're certainly not tiny. I mean, at 10 megawatts, you're talking about a significant scale, and you're talking about the largest share of the market. So again, 70% of the source of current hydro is from those 10 megawatts and under. And so,
but why exclude larger dam projects?
There's another bill, Senate Bill 19, which is explicitly and has been passed the Senate, I think, unanimously 2 weeks ago, which is a universal support for bringing hydro projects on and provides some tax opportunities for all hydro projects to come on. So there are additional opportunities for hydro on the larger side. This was more of an opportunity to diversify the hydro market, so you would have a number of smaller providers.
Why diversify it? I mean, why not just let the market do what it does?
Let's be clear here. Therefore, the large hydros don't count as renewable energy for the 30% requirement.
Do we have any large hydropower systems here in Colorado?
I'm not an expert on precisely. I know we've got some big dams that have some generators on them, and you know this is saying that doesn't count in the nuclear side. You're right; it's not in there either.
Let's talk about nuke power. Why isn't nuclear power considered under this 30% mandate? I can't imagine anything more clean. You know, this is, and the French get most of their power from nuclear power. Why isn't that included?
You know, I don't know originally why nuclear wasn't included. I know that one of the concerns is that there were people that will debate whether or not it is renewable, because there are certainly uranium byproducts of nuclear that have significant safety hazards that have to be dealt with. They can be dealt with, and I think that it's worthwhile to look at nuclear options. I think that it wasn't included in this bill because there are more complexities around how to store and safely bury nuclear waste than there is for some of these other purely renewables. So I think it's a debate worth having, but it wasn't one that was a component of this original plan.
All right. Let's back it up here. The original reasons for this, and even when Republicans pushed this, I was questionable about this, because it seems to me that government shouldn't be telling a private company how to produce its product. The product here is electricity. And I think a lot of people get a sense that those of us who are skeptical on feel-good energy, my term, not yours, is that I don't mind it. I know that many utilities use a percentage of wind power, and it fills up part of their portfolio. I'm not the one to decide what is the right percentage for that energy portfolio. I'm going to let the guys who create the product in a competitive market decide how much they want to use. Am I missing something?